In the 2022 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trayvon Walker.
We are going to jump into some draft stuff since I've been super occupied with playoffs with both the Bruins and the Celtics being in playoffs. Definitely not trying to piss Kendra off with that comment. I will be kind of leading this discussion for our two draft experts.
Far from it.
Two are like two of the biggest college football fans I know. So last year, if you have a second, check out our video from last year's draft. They did an awesome full mock draft. We're not going to do that this year. We're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to go through the first 10 picks. Each of you are going to let us know who, where, why, and then we'll take a look and see which ones you have the same and which ones are different, and maybe we'll put out the list on social so we can compare. But yeah, let's get started with the first pick. Dun, 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 dun. Carolina Panthers from Chicago. Chicago Bears giving up their first pick to the Panthers. Kendra, lead the way.
Okay, so while I think that Tyler's pick is the right pick from a scouting perspective, fit perspective, all of that, it's not what sorry, my boss is texting me right now. So anyways, while I think that Tyler has the right pick here, I do believe that Bryce Young is going to go first. I think that has kind of been made pretty obvious in the last few days, but Tyler has some other thoughts, I think. That being said, what I don't like about Bryce Young in comparison to who Tyler has is I don't love Alabama quarterbacks. I never have. I've always said this on this show. I mean that. I think when you have the best offensive line, the best receivers, the best running backs helping you out, it's not that hard to be a good quarterback, especially in the system that they run. That being said, the biggest thing for Bryce Young that I don't like is obviously his size. And I don't think that even if he was taller, he has the body type that you can throw 30 pounds of muscle on without him looking insane or, stretching his mobility or ability that far. So do I think that this is a silly pick for them? Probably, but the Carolina Panthers have a history of not really drafting well for quarterback position. So that's where I'm going.
I like it. That's who I think. So the way I drafted, I went with what I would do, not what I think is going to happen. I 100% think Bryce Young is going to be the number one quarterback taken in the first pick in the draft. I went with CJ Stroud, though. I think CJ is the best quarterback in the draft. But that's not saying too much for me because I don't like any of them. I probably, if I had a different pick, I would probably trade down if I had the one. But I just don't really like Bryce Young's height. That's what holds me back from him. That's kind of the deciding factor.
Yeah, I agree. We've talked about him in comparison to like some of the smaller quarterbacks that have played in the NFL, and it's like, sure, his ceiling might be Drew Brees, but his floor is, I think, a lot steeper than what he's being scouted as. And I think that I will admit I do have some Alabama bias in some of my picks down the line, in the fact that I think that they do get that extra bump because of Alabama, and they should.
Yeah, there's a reason for that, and I think Alabama's put plenty of people in the league that have had a lot of success.
Yeah, Alabama quarterbacks just don't wow me. Mac Jones doesn't wow me. AJ McCarron hasn't wowed me. Tua, I'll give it to you, but his whole situation, you can't even really give him a fair assessment because for a while he wasn't in a great fit. And then as soon as he started playing well, he started battling injuries. And we can't really predict if he was having a good year, a good season, if the Tua who was prior is the actual Tua. We don't know, and we might not know, so it's I just sit here and think about all of these prospects Jalen Hurts, I guess you could give to Jalen Hurts. But once again, we didn't know about Jalen Hurts until last season, and he earned his contract that he just got. But we didn't know about Jalen Hurts for a while. And sure, you have one guy. What?
Shout out his female agent.
Yeah, and it's you've got one guy and all of the success you've had in the last 2 decades.
And it even took him a while in college to find himself as a player too, because there was the whole thing. He got benched for Tua, and then he came back and won them the championship or something, I think, and then he transferred to Oklahoma and had a lot of success there.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I agree. So that's how I feel about that whole situation. I do think that CJ Stroud is going to be probably the best quarterback to come out of this class. But that being said, I don't think that this class is that impressive. And I think that there is a lot of quarterback inflation.
When it's all said and done, I kind of agree that CJ Stroud, he has also things that worry me though. Like he really didn't have that impressive of a college career. He had really the only time I really saw good flashes of it was against Georgia in that playoff game.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. If he can do that his entire NFL career, I think that's great. And he'll be a fine player. But there were a lot of games he did not look that way. Didn't beat Michigan either. Let that be known.
Alrighty. Who does Vegas have, Tyler, for the first round?
Vegas is heavy on Bryce Young.
All right.
He's the heavy favorite to go number one.
You've heard it here first. Probably not, but you're hearing it now. So, thank you both for that excellent insight. Moving on to number 2, Houston Texans with the second pick. Kendra, thoughts?
For the Texans, if you listen to the show regularly, I kind of threw out there that I thought that the Colts could really try and maybe make some noise and trade up to get a quarterback. And I have talked myself into me thinking that if they really don't like, there's rumors that Houston doesn't really like any of these quarterbacks. And I think that they could get the guys that they want if they were to trade out of this first round position. That being said, if they really don't like any of these quarterbacks, I think it would be like reverse psychology to take draft picks in the division and give them the guy that you're not really that interested in, that kind of seems to be the hot commodity at the moment. And there are rumors that this could happen. Do I think it will happen? No, but I'm convincing myself that it is. And I think that the Colts trade for Will Levis. So, and I think that they give the Texans their pick at 4.
I like it. So you think Will Levis is the Colts' guy? That's who you're saying they pick?
Yes. I think so here's the thing. I think that Will Levis is probably, and I don't mean this in like an attractive way. I mean this in like when I say that I think that Will Levis is the sexiest quarterback in this draft, I don't mean as far as like I find him attractive. I mean to like a scouter, he's attractive. He's a large quarterback who can give you some tough plays. He can get beaten up a little bit because he can take it. And I think that he is the most traditional type of quarterback that we see amongst these guys in the beginning of the draft. So I think that that adds to his stock as like a pick at this spot. So it's like if the Texans aren't fronting and they actually don't really like any of these guys, I think that they could either take CJ Stroud at 4 with how I have this set up, or even they have a pick later where Anthony Richardson might still be available.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I kind of like agree-ish with the things you said about Will Levis, except that I think so I don't really do too many NFL comps for college players. I did for him, but not in the traditional sense. I think he's the Bryson DeChambeau of the NFL. He has all these like physical traits. He can, Bryson can hit the ball a mile. Will Levis can throw the ball from end zone to end zone. But they're so weird. They're both so weird, so cringy. They're a little bit full of themselves. I think he's a little bit narcissistic. And just such weird dudes that I think they're too like polarizing in my opinion, because to have an incredible amount of success. I mean, Bryson, he's won tournaments, sure, but he's not like the guy anymore at the moment. Anyway, he went to Live, and we don't talk about Live, but they're both just so weird, and I love that comparison on my part. So good job to me.
Really proud of that one.
I'm so proud of that one. I keep telling people that I think he's Bryson DeChambeau, and nobody gets it because nobody watches golf other than me. but
Yes.
it's a great comparison.
Me, the biggest golf fan on the podcast.
But do you
Okay,
guys get what
fair.
I'm saying about that though? Like, I think that from like a
100%.
scouting perspective, he is like,
Oh yeah, he checks all those boxes: the arm strength, I just hate his decision making personally.
I also
Yeah.
love the reverse psychology play. I think that's
Yes.
something really interesting that we're
See?
definitely.
And Houston
might
could
be-
absolutely trade out of this pick.
I
I
think
think
this
that this
draft
could
in
be some
particular
fuckery.
is gonna be some fuckery. I agree.
Yeah,
It just it feels it's too quiet. You know how before the draft, like it's just we have our trade deadline and then it's quiet for a while. And
Should
then
we
it's
add in
just
some
like,
Lamar lore? Sorry.
you want to
yeah,
at
add
the
some
end.
Marlor? Go for it.
do
All
it,
right,
Bob.
Haley, I'm listening. Sorry, I was thinking out
No,
loud.
but it's just like I don't know. I think this draft is gonna have a particular amount of fuckery. I think you nailed it with that word. I don't know. So I love all the reverse psychology. I think that's
I
a
definitely
great
think there's.
potential.
I
I think
definitely
you're
think
thinking
so.
like a GM there, Kendra.
I think that there's potential for this draft to be like the draft with the most fuckery of all time, just because I don't think that there's the lack of like solidarity
Obvious
I feel about the obvious choices and the solidarity amongst, the first like 2 or 3 picks at this point. It's kind of just like I think that there could really I think that this is going to be a memorable draft, not because of the talent available, just because nobody wants anything there fully, like full-hearted committed. So I think that, but like that's the thing. If you trade out of spots or you trade back or what have you, this isn't you're going to get so much more probably later in this draft or in next draft because there's so much talent in next draft. I don't know. The inflation of the quarterbacks is really going to fuck this up for a lot of people. And I'm just praying to God that the Jaguars do not fall into whatever is about to go on, because I literally had Snapchat memories today of me losing it during the 2020 draft, like absolutely going fucking crazy. Not only was I locked in my apartment drinking tequila by myself because it was COVID, the Jaguars fuckery is like the only word that comes to mind. LaVisca Chenault, are you fucking kidding me? Caleb anyways.
We can put in a clip here of Kendra during last year's draft. One of the more soul-crushing moments I've seen from her in recent times.
I forgot about that. And I stand by that. I wanted Aiden Hutchinson so bad. I praying for Trayvon, prayers for Trayvon, but like, fuck.
It was hard to watch, honestly.
I cried a little.
Tyler, your thoughts on the second pick for the Houston Texans?
So I didn't do trades in my draft. And I think Houston is capable of trading back if they felt like it. I kind of think if they were, I've heard they're not in love with the quarterback, but I feel like even if they're not, I think they might go either Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson of Texas Tech. Will Anderson of Alabama. There was a point where Will Anderson was viewed as the best player in the draft. And I still feel like people might. He kind of was quiet this season because Alabama was kind of down as a whole. But I just don't think Houston's sold on a quarterback. And I think if you're not completely sold on a quarterback this high in the draft, it's better to either trade out or go with the next best player. And if they think Will Anderson's the best player in the draft, might as well take him.
Yeah. I mean, you have him for third pick with the Arizona Cardinals. If you want to jump on that, talk about what you like about him.
Yeah, yes. I just think this was like the start of my whole Alabama talent rant. And while I think that he and probably a lot of other drafts, if there wasn't such a need for quarterbacks right now, especially with this trade, I think if it was still Chicago or what have you, we've seen a lot of these pass rushers move up in the draft in recent years because they're so valuable, and it's so hard to find not only someone who's durable, but who can really play that position to like the level of the elites that we've seen in the last decade come out of that position.
Probably the second most valuable position, right?
Yeah, agree. 100%. But I just feel as though in the last 10 years, we've seen that talent drop off from the elite and the people who are like kind of in the middle of the pack. So that value at that position has been really pushed up along like the value with the quarterbacks. But that being said, I do think that he's the most talented player in the draft, but it does add to kind of the Alabama tagline that comes with players that they are just so league ready. And that's the the SEC is the most league ready version of college football that you're going to have to the NFL. So it's like whenever you have the ability to draft an Alabama player, I think that you should, outside of the quarterback position. I know that I just said that, but outside of the quarterback position, I truly do believe that.
I don't know this for sure, but I feel like there's a lot more instances of Alabama players working out this high
Yes,
in the draft
100%.
than there are them busting. I could make that up, but I feel like if I did the research, that would.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's just my point about the quarterbacks having it easy because of the talent that surrounds them. When you have the best of the best around you, yeah, being a quarterback isn't easy, but when you have those extra half a second to sit in the pocket, or you have a running back who can just play fucking bully ball like Derrick Henry or fucking Damian Harris and all of these guys that have come out and been successful, I just think it makes it so much easier to be a good quarterback somewhere like Alabama. And the translation to the league is just, it's just different, especially because some of these, like we're going to see Bryce Young go and be on a really shitty team, like to be transparent, like he's going to go from the best of the best to he's going to get
he's probably going to go to
year.
Houston it's not going to go well for him. And that's kind of why I don't like the quarterbacks at the top of the draft this year, because they're going to go at the top of the draft to these teams that need quarterbacks and kind of be set up for failure, expected to start right away. I think these quarterbacks will find the most success if they're able to sit a year or two.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a very optimistic situation for sure.
No.
There is, okay.
We don't really feel good. Doesn't seem like the vibes are good behind their success.
Can I get a hand check? Okay. If I had not just hand checked you and you couldn't look it up, what would you say Bryce Young weighs right now? Because I think it's absolute horseshit.
He's like just over 2, isn't he?
What's your answer?
Like, I'll say 2 flat.
I'm just gonna go like 185, 190.
I'm with Haley. He is listed at 194. I would have said that he was 185 soaking.
Is that his combine
I would have
measurement?
said I said 185 because Tyler went high with 2. My original guess was gonna be like 175.
I know he's been trying to put on weight, so I gave him the benefit.
Me too, but I know that
he's trying.
Bigger.
Okay, Kendra, he's giving.
I know
his
that
best.
he's bigger than he looks. I'm just saying
he's just a small boy.
We do have to preface that.
That's my.
Yeah,
he's just a small boy.
Have some milk.
Kendra does.
He needs some milk. That would help, probably.
This is like noted in history for sure.
No, it's literally just. I think that he had weights in his pants.
Oh, a conspiracy.
Conspiracy? He did have those giant, massive shoes on with the big soles.
Yeah, weights in the shoes.
Yeah.
Sticking with the third pick for the Cardinals, you have Tyler.
So 3 is definitely. Vegas says they're going to trade out of this spot. I definitely agree. This is the more likely spot than Houston for the trade. I think it's going to be somebody trying to jump over Indianapolis to take a quarterback. I don't think it's going to be Indianapolis jumping.
Can you give us a prediction on the spot?
I like Tennessee, kind of.
Oh, don't scare Kendra like that.
To take whatever quarterback they're interested in here.
No, they have Malik.
Oh, you think Malik? They signed Josh Dobbs to play over him in the middle of the season last year.
I feel so good about that.
Shout out the University of Liberty.
That was a layup, and you know it.
Flip it.
Shout out the University of Liberty.
I'm gonna flip your nickels.
Flip it.
I like Tennessee. I feel like they're most likely. I also wouldn't rule out like Minnesota or Seattle, maybe Washington if they're feeling.
Seattle to trade up to get a quarterback after they just signed Geno.
He signed him on 1 year.
I know, but
like I said, these quarterbacks could sit.
Blah.
Draft for the future.
Okay.
All right. Number 4.
I picked I haven't taken one of my other favorite people, Tyree Wilson, Arizona, because I didn't do trades in my mock. I didn't do trades in my mock.
Go ahead.
You didn't do trades? I did trades.
No, I didn't do trades.
We want to talk about Tyree. I know you have him later.
Yeah, I mean, I can say a couple things. I think he's really good. So there you go. Well, I'll just end
Great.
it there. But
Great.
no, he's got some injury concerns that are around. He's got like an ankle thing, I think it is. So that might be a little high for him. I really
Analysis.
like him though.
And
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. You're just gonna make fun of me.
No, I'm not laughing at you. Honestly, I'm laughing
No,
at
you're laughing at
Morgan.
me. I know
No,
you
I'm
always are
laughing at
laughing at
I'm
me.
laughing at the show notes. Spoiler alert, Kendra has Tyree for the 5th pick with Seattle. She wrote snag at this slot, but I thought it said snag this slut. So I
Oh.
was gonna ask your thoughts.
her,
Wow.
I was gonna ask Kendra your thoughts on
Tyler has dyslexia and thought that I said that I was having a mental breakdown over ranch today, and I would just like it to be known.
It's true. I was there.
It was good.
It was not ranch, by the way.
It was not ranch.
Fun
That
fact.
being said, I have the Texans coming to this pick because this is the Colts pick from trading up to 2. I have them snagging CJ Stroud here. And to be honest, the fact I'm kind of like, if one quarterback is going to be good out of this draft, I know that it's going to be CJ. Okay. That being said, the fact that him and Will Levis both might be in the AFC South makes me want to die, but for different reasons. One, obviously, I just said this and I said this 5 minutes ago. I think CJ is going to be sick. I don't want to have to deal with him. 2, Will Levis is the coolest guy to ever fucking live. He is so weird. I love him. The mayonnaise coffee, the whole banana with the peel. I love the scare tactics. I think that he just maybe either 1, he is this weird, which is fucking cool if true. 2, maybe he's just trying to drop his draft stock so he can get on a better team and win a Super Bowl quicker. Or 3,
that's not what he's doing.
Shut up, Tyler. Let me do what I need to do on this journey. 3rd, I don't know. I have nothing else to say. I love him so much, and I don't want to have to hate him because he's kind of become my entire personality at this point. Not really. I've talked about him maybe twice on Twitter, but he's so cool.
Yeah, we are a Will Levis podcast.
I'm not signing off on this.
Well, I will sign on with you, Kendra. I am pro Will Levis with you.
He's
I'm
so
very
weird.
anti
So
Will
cool.
Levis.
Why?
Speaking of
Because
Will
he's so
Levis,
weird. For the exact reasons you listed is why I hate
despite
him.
all that, you still have him going with the Colts.
Yeah, because this is the one pick that I kind of did just do because
yeah,
he screams Indianapolis.
He
I don't know what
does.
it is about him. I can just
Didn't Steph say that today
visualize
too?
him. She probably did.
Shout
I
out
can just
Steph.
visualize him in Indianapolis uniform more than I can any other player. Like if I close my eyes and picture CJ Stroud in Indianapolis jersey, it looks weird.
Yeah.
Really. Maybe
Yeah.
I could be convinced on Bryce Young. Maybe
Anthony Richardson would look really
no,
weird in a
Anthony
Colts
Richardson
jersey.
would look ridiculous in a Colts jersey.
I also think that Will Levis gives Matt Ryan, Peyton Manning vibes, like just how it's always been.
Yes.
That's just
Christian boy.
Yeah. I don't want to hate him. I want to be able to
He's way too
hate
full of
this.
himself.
I want to love him.
He's way too full of himself.
He drinks mayonnaise in his coffee and eats bananas whole. He cannot be that into himself.
Yeah,
I think he's doing it for attention. It's all psychological. It's all psychological. He knows
Tyler,
if he does this, he's going to get attention. Maybe not at the top of his mind, but subconsciously, I think he knows exactly what he's doing.
I think that he just...
And he's a fraud.
You're fraud!
Because I see right through his game that he's playing. I see right through it.
Oh, no.
Bryson DeChambeau.
Oh, my God. That was so good.
Oh, my God. All right.
The pain medication's taking over. I'm sorry. I lost my temper there. I lost my temper there. So I would like to apologize to Will Levis.
I'm going to ask everybody, as the moderator, I'm going to ask everybody to take a deep breath.
I'd like to apologize to Will Levis.
All right. So.
No, I wouldn't.
Will Levis is fraud. Going fourth pick for Tyler. Fifth pick
Oh.
is the Seattle
Throwing the
Seahawks,
fifth
who
pick?
received this pick from Denver, the Denver Broncos. 2014 Super Bowl appearance.
Appearance.
They show up.
I had Tyree going here, and the reason that I had him as a snag at this slot, like I said, edge rushers are just so hard to come across an elite one. But the thing that I like about him, and yes, it is kind of ridiculous to utter that he has such insane like height and weight, but like his reach is just so impressive. And I think that when you talk about an edge rusher, obviously they have elite reach, especially if they're going in like the top few picks in the NFL draft. But that being said, I think that he's just so dominant, especially when you watch him on tape. Like his hands are just huge. And I think that if he can get over like this foot injury that he's had, I think that he could be probably a really good steal in this draft. The thing that I also think is impressive about him is that there is a difference between carrying an edge rusher's size and looking fit at that position. You know, like you see when I look at like Trayvon Walker, do I think that he's the fittest guy at that position? Like as a rusher? No, I don't. But it's like when I look at Tyree, he looks fit, he looks cut, he looks in shape. And I feel the same way about JJ Watt. JJ Watt was one of those guys that wore the size and the weight well. And I think that that's a big difference because I think it helps with your ability and mobility.
That's fair. I really like I said, I really liked Tyree. I believe that if he were wearing a different jersey, like an Alabama or your Texas maybe, or your Georgia, I think he would kind of be more of a consensus top pick than he is
Agree.
right
That's a
now.
hot take. I like that.
And also kind of with his foot too. If he were like totally healthy right now, I think he would be like consensus higher than he is. Maybe not just because all the quarterbacks taken, but whatever. I have Seattle going with Jalen Carter, who is personally my number one player in the draft. Issues aside, I think he's the most talented guy in this draft.
Yeah.
And getting him at 5 would be a total steal.
Yeah, I
in my
agree. I
opinion.
have him going 6 to your Detroit Lions, actually.
I would absolutely love that. I think Seattle's going to steal him from me, though.
I do.
Which is the
I
only
do
reason
think.
why I don't have Detroit taking him, is because I think he's going to be stolen from me.
What about with all the trades, though? Because that's gonna like obviously take some quarterbacks off the board early.
That's why I didn't do trades, is because it would just confuse me, and I think they're so hard to predict.
Yeah, I have him going there, which my question for you was, obviously I know that we talked about that you were upset about all of the gambling stuff last week, and you kind of just answered my question as though, do you think that that would take the sting away for fans though, or do you think that it would feed into the narrative that they just had some, you know, kind of conduct issues, and now you're bringing in Jalen Carter, who also might have some potential conduct problems?
No, I don't really think, well, because I'm not calling what JMO did a conduct issue. Personally,
I agree,
it's
but
gambling.
some people might not look at it like that.
Those people are idiots, and I don't respect their opinion. I don't even know where I was going to go after that.
Tyler's like gambling, yes.
Kendra and I.
What were we talking? Oh, we were talking about Jalen Carter's issues. Those are much more problematic in my head than the gambling, but I think his talent speaks for itself a little bit, and it's one thing if like he had Georgia and the school go against him and like accuse him of these things too. The school's been nothing but supportive. Like Kirby Smart, his opinion is like incredibly respected around the league. He speaks wonders about Jalen Carter and the person that he is.
Yeah.
And I feel like also if something were going to happen with Trey or Jalen, we kind of would have seen it already. But I don't know. It's definitely more of a risk than not.
I more so
which is
just
why
mean
he's falling to 5.
Yeah, because we knew he was gonna fall.
Than this.
I just more so mean that like to our generation of scouts, people, I mean, you bring up Kirby Smart, he's around young people all the time, but we are not like the average consumer. And when I say that, I mean the average, you know, older 40-year-old season ticket holder who sees people gambling away the season that they paid season tickets for, or you're drafting a guy who potentially has a conduct problem, we don't know, was involved in some legal trouble. I just mean from like that average consumer perspective, when you are an organization, you have to think about that.
Yeah, I guess, sure.
Yeah.
I don't see it as a problem, but
yeah, I agree. I think but that speaks to kind of what I think is interesting about both of your picks here is, Kendra, it seems very much like you're thinking from that perspective of what is gonna happen, whereas Tyler just picked who Tyler.
But at the same time, though, do organizations like this really care what the public thinks, or are they just trying to win?
I think it
I know
depends on.
in college, where my mind always is, teams don't really care what you think about. They're like these $1 million, sometimes $1 billion organizations. All they care about is winning on the football field. And if I'm drafting, I'm picking the player that will help me win the most games.
I think that there's a difference between when you do something like, I'm going to throw out the Deshaun Watson situation, and I don't mean to compare these situations, just as a recent example. Had they gone and signed someone the following week that also had some real problems, real conduct problems, like, I feel as though when you fuck up once really recently, you can't do it again. You got to give people some time to forget about what happened before you go and you're like, well, they're talented, so we don't really care.
That's a fair argument going with that. But like, they're not that drastic of an issue, though, is my thing.
I agree.
I don't think
I
these
agree.
are like as comparable to that. Like, maybe
They're not.
if I was the Browns and I had the fifth and I was thinking about taking Jalen, maybe that would be a question. But like the
I'm just
Lions,
saying
I
it
don't
was a
think
week
that's
ago.
yeah. With the Lions, I don't think that this is as big an issue as that would
Me
be.
either, because I have them
Yeah.
taking Jalen Carter. It was just
But
me
no, I see
playing
what you're
devil's
saying. I
advocate.
see what
Yeah.
you're saying.
So that being said, who do you want the Lions to take?
Well, who I want them to take is Jalen Carter. Who I think cornerback is probably where we're gonna go if Jalen is taken before us. I think it's between this kid Devin Witherspoon out of Illinois and the what's his name out of something Gonzalez out of Oregon.
Yeah,
I kind of
Christian.
lean Witherspoon because, and this is also just, it's kind of like the way I feel about Will Levis. I can picture him in a Lions uniform. Maybe it's because he's like Big Ten and he's in that like region more than the Oregon player is. But I don't know. I think they're both really good players, and I would be happy with either one of them. But cornerback would definitely be a help, especially since we just lost Jeff Okuda too. I think that
Yeah,
would really help. And like, our secondary wasn't like incredible last year. We did make that play for what's his face from the Eagles, the safety, which was a great signing in the offseason. I think getting a good rookie cornerback to play alongside him, that would be great for our secondary.
okay. I also realized that I meant to put your boy Christian Gonzalez here.
There we
Uh-oh.
go. That's a great segue to the 7th pick for the Atlanta Falcons. I think you just deleted it by accident. But
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Oh, the
All right.
notes are
So you have-
disaster.
They are. It's probably gonna kill Tyler.
You've just given me Bryce Young.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. There's 7. So 7 is the Raiders.
Yeah, so we're on the Las Vegas Raiders.
I have
Apologies.
Christian Gonzalez going here.
7th pick.
Yes.
Tyler. Or you go
I
ahead.
yeah, I have Gonzalez just because I thought that he might fall to the second round originally, when like way back, like at the beginning of this season. He was kind of on my radar from last year, but he put up really good numbers at
He
the
had a really good year.
combine. Yeah,
He did well at the combine too.
yeah, he had a good year. I wasn't expecting him to have as good of a year as he did, But that being said, he had a really good combine. And I think that that is what kind of jumped him from maybe that 15th, 16th kind of section to falling just outside, just into the top 10. And I think that just based off of that alone, he turned a lot of heads. And I feel as though the Falcons are a team that not only, I'm sorry, the Falcons.
The Raiders. Yeah,
The Raiders.
That was my fault. That was my mistake earlier.
The Raiders are a team where I can see him kind of just fitting into how they play there. And I think that they do value, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to stick with this here. I think that that's where he's going to go.
That's what Vegas agrees with you.
Do they? Yeah. I think
or
that,
at least
I think that
a couple days ago when I was putting this together, they did. I think things have probably changed, but
I'm not a huge, what I was going to say here, and I'll just say it because I mean it. I'm not a huge believer in combine numbers. I think that they matter, but not as much as people like to believe that they do. But that being said, I think that they did help him move up a little bit here, but I'm glad that it did.
Yeah. And that's a take you had during the combine too. We talked about a little bit. I agree that it doesn't have, but I feel like this is a perfect example of a combine performance making a difference. Like this is one of those very few recent examples I can think of that.
I don't think he would have fallen too much further, but I think that, like I said, it helped him jump.
No, I think the combine for certain players, it's gonna, if you have a really good day, it'll move you up a handful of picks. If you have a bad day, it'll just move you down a handful of picks. I don't think it's gonna be like
make or break
that detrimental to your draft stock one way or the other. I mean, unless you tear an ACL, that'll throw you down. But so Raiders, this is kind of a result of me not doing trades. I don't think Bryce Young's going to be here at all. I think he's definitely going number one. But I don't think there's any way they pass up on Bryce Young. I also kind of don't think they pass up on a CJ Stroud if he falls this low either.
I don't think either of them will, but
I also agree that defensive back is much more likely. I think they probably take whichever is not taken by Detroit.
Okay.
Assuming Detroit takes a defensive back.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then with the 8th pick, which was my mistake, now it's the 8th pick. Atlanta Falcons. Kendra, who do you got?
I have Witherspoon going here because I think that he makes sense for the Falcons, first of all, but what I like about him in particular, and why I think that he's probably someone the Falcons would draft, especially at this slot if he's there. I know that I think with all the trades, which is how I obviously did my draft, we've said I think with the trades, he will fall to the Falcons here and he will be available for them. But what I like about him is obviously I think that this is the most athletic position in the NFL. Like I don't know if there's any, I mean, there might be some arguing.
Oh, I agree
that,
with you. That,
yeah,
I feel like
think
that's
it's
pretty consensus.
That being said, during the season, he was 180 pounds and he's rumored to be around 215 right now. So if you add in like a freak athlete like that who put on 35 pounds in the offseason getting ready to play in the NFL, fucking gimme.
Does that not kind of, maybe I'm just devil's advocating here. Advocating? I don't know. Do you not think that would make him a little bit slower though?
That's the thing.
Do you think
is
he's
that
used to playing at that weight?
do
That
I
would be
think
my
that
worry. I don't know
See,
how. I'm not an
but
athlete.
you know he can go back to playing 180, 190 and be that fast again if it doesn't work out. But what I think is important here is when you have a guy who's that athletic and you're making that jump to the NFL, you've got to be a little bit bigger. Even if you sacrifice a little bit of speed, you don't want to get bullied. And he's the kind of guy who can he can play multiple different like
No, he is a little bit of a bully on the field. He's got a little bit of a hothead.
Yeah,
that's one of my negatives on him. He got in a little bit of trouble.
But he's good against the run and he's great in coverage. So he's a super versatile guy. And I think when you add that 30, 35 pounds, even if I don't think you're going to sacrifice any speed, but I just, that's crazy to me. And plus, like, I don't think it, like you said, certain organizations don't care, but because the Falcons are kind of unproblematic since Michael Vick, they've got a couple points to spare.
Sure. So my pick, I had him taking, this is kind of a wild one. I haven't seen it too many mocks. I had him go Miles Murphy.
Okay.
but Vegas really loves Bijan Robinson to go here,
Yeah, I
which
have him going later.
I would think is way too high for running back, but I know you are too. We're both anti running backs in the first round.
Go to the running back.
But I think going for an edge rusher would be good. Like we keep saying about the edge rushers, they're probably the second most valuable position in football, at least at the moment. They made some good moves this offseason between Calais and Bud Dupree. Um, and I think getting a young guy to go alongside them, I think that could be great for the future of their, like, somebody who you don't have to necessarily rely on totally right now to um, be productive.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't be upset with Nolan Smith here either because he's the
Yeah.
hometown boy. I'm a
Yeah.
big hometown boy drafter, and Nolan Smith went to UGA, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool beans. All right. Number 9, we have the Chicago Bears. They received this pick from Carolina. Kendra, who do we have?
I've got Broderick Jones going here. I think one, you got to feed the offense, keep them a little bit happy. There were some rumors obviously circling around in the offseason that, made a lot of people uncomfortable, a lot of people upset. I don't think that the option was to ever really shop Justin Fields. I know that it's kind of been rumored or whatever. I don't think that they could realistically get rid of him. So I think that even if it's just a rumor, you've got to feed the offense a little bit, win back their favor. But that being said, the reason I have Broderick going here is just because I think that his ceiling is a little bit higher than, some of the other offensive tackles that are available in this area of the draft.
For sure.
I like that. My worry with Broderick, he does not have a ton of starting experience, which I kind of value a lot with my offensive tackles. But I also went offensive line for Chicago. I haven't taken Paris Johnson, and what I've been hearing recently is that he may even go higher than this.
Really? I have the Patriots maybe stealing him.
People love Paris Johnson, apparently.
I know.
And I really do too. He's my favorite offensive tackle this year. I just think picking somebody to help out, like you said, with that offense, get some protection for Fields.
Yep.
Because he had like none last year.
Yep.
I think that would be a huge boost to
yep.
hopefully keep him around.
Yeah, because that's exactly what I mean by feeding the offense. Because if you can obviously give Justin Fields even a little bit more protection,
more time to do something than just having to run the ball every play.
You're taking care of him, you're taking care of your receivers, and you're taking care of your running back a little bit more.
It also just feels like an act of like good faith for
exactly.
Justin too.
Yes, 100%. That's my gripe with, and don't get me wrong, I love Travis Etienne now, but I would be lying, and I know that we talked. No, we didn't. This was prior to our show, but I talked about this with a lot of people. That's why I would have preferred them to take an offensive lineman at that slot, just because I think that when you take someone like Trevor Lawrence and you have a shitty offensive line, it's like hey, we got you.
I'm always an advocate for taking an offensive lineman too, because even if they're not like incredible, it's just depth at that position. Because you see injuries there all the time.
Yeah, so the Jags fucking O-line. Jeez.
If I'm ever questioning a pick, I probably will throw a projection for an offensive lineman just because.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, like when the not to keep bringing up the Jags, but when the Jags were rumored, early in the season before we won all of those games in the second stretch, I was like, realistically, all right, we're picking 6, 7, 8. I want an offensive lineman, and everyone was like, whatever. I am so with you. Anytime that you don't know, offensive lineman all day. Like that's the stuff right there.
When in doubt, go offensive line.
But I do, just to kind of, I have Paris Johnson as my mock for the Patriots, just because I know we have a lot of Pats listeners. So I have him falling to you. You're welcome.
Yeah. As a Pats fan, that would be sick. Any more confidence? If we're going to stick with the Mac Jones concept, any more confidence we can give him in the pocket is
he needs it.
The offense. So, that being said, we have reached the end of the top 10 picks. The 10th pick from NOLA is the Philadelphia Eagles. Kendra, round us off.
So I am with Tyler, and I think most people, when I say that I hate a first round running back pick, I hate it. I think it's stupid. I think it's one of those positions that you can find depth for days in the later rounds. And it's just such a position that doesn't hold up well because they're constantly being banged up all the time, like every single play. And so the only reason that I have this here is because I think that it's something that makes sense for the Eagles. And I think that just because of the way that he is being talked about around the league, he's going to go in the top 15. So I do have Bijan Robinson going to the Eagles, and I love the Eagles. And I love him. So I'm fine with being able to continue to love him. But if I were an Eagles fan, I would hate taking a running back that high because I mean, we took Travis later in the draft and I still was like, are you fucking kidding me? And he's fine. He's great. Like it's worked out like so far. So other than his injury his first season, but just that even proves my point. Even though it was a no contact play and it was before anything happened, but whatever.
So I do talk a lot of shit about Bijan. I do think he is probably a top 5 talent in this draft, though. I just don't think the value of running backs, I feel comfortable taking them this high in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if he is taken by Philly or even by Chicago or Atlanta before them, I think he will be an incredible player for any of those teams. I just worry that he's going to get expensive and he may not last that long because injuries. There's the train.
The train, friend of the show, the train.
But for me, this is where I have Christian Gonzalez going. Probably just because he just ended up falling to this pick. I don't really think he will be there. God, that train.
We love the train.
Totally threw my train of thought.
Your train.
Yeah, my train of thought is out the window.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going Christian Gonzalez.